Greetings, brothers and sisters. Greetings, brothers and sisters, and blessings be unto you. It's a beautiful Sabbath. You know, we're going to be talking about IVF, children, babies, adults, donors, host, right? Or mothers. But respectfully, if we keep things within its proper nature, host. And there's reasons for this. I mean, we have to talk about this because going into this and considering these things, has one really looked at this from a general, respectful, communicative, right? Accountability and responsibility, opposed to those who are the donors or those who participate, and most definitely doctors. Right? We have an ethical code to those who are doctors. You have an ethical code to mankind. And not just that, but unto yourself. If you deem yourself to be a scientist or a health professional, are you there to help man? Are you there to just give a rhetoric or a explanation, a scientific expression, to make it make sense? You know, in life, things are fearfully and wonderfully made. You know, sometimes things go against nature, but it still coincides nature. For example, you know, you may have someone who is sick, right, with a particular dominant, you know, such as cancer or any type of illness, but they do things differently, right? And they heal rather rapidly. Things go into reverse. Even though it's not said, it can happen, but it does. And in fact, it's almost against the laws because this illness was progressive, but then it goes in reverse, right? And then this person is healed. Maybe by different actions or nevertheless by their faith, right? How they believe in the Most High. You know, there's a community of those of us who have seen that, such as myself, and I'm pretty sure you have if you have done the work. But nevertheless, I can remember going and doing my rounds within a nursing home. And I remember speaking with the older lady, and she said, you know, baby, there's people who are not human. And as I've grown and matured in things, not just in the gospel, because, hey, you better believe it, it's all here. We're going to go over the mystery. We're going to go over this mystery, but we're going to touch some of it here. The mystery is, do you know from whence you come from, the dark? We're going to go further in this because there's also a whole nother text about this that's been hidden by certain factions of people because they don't want you to understand the complexity or the virtue, to rise above the conflict. What is the conflict? You know, you might not have a job and you need your rent paid. What is the conflict? You're going through an illness today, and though they say you might have 3 or 4 days to live, God says you shall live if you believe. To rise above the conflict. Because to know from whence you come from, the dark, if you know from where you come from and who you are in Christ, you can rise above the conflict. The dark is those ideologies of what we see today, living someone else's reality. Is it your own reality? Are those things that you see, are they in perfectiveness? Are they perfect? Or are they stained, but have some perfect attributes about it? This we're going into in regards into the human nature. Things that scientists have practiced. Though some on the right-hand side say it's ethical, but those on the left-hand side say it's unethical. And then what does the text say about it? And then what do you decide, right? Do they have a spirit? The Most High has told us Keep in mind this mystery of the dark. The Most High have told us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. When we look at creation, things were in the dark. But when does the Great War start? Let's go into the text. Psalms 139:5. Thou hast beset me behind and before, and laid thine hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain it. You see, what hand has created you? Was it God's hand or was it man's hand? Did man have a part of that within the law of nature, and then the ability of the course through action of compassion or love and affection, and then those things are created? Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Question. Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? Question. If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. You see, we have to understand that before there was light, there was darkness. That light came from the darkness. But what light was that? Was that the light of the sun that we see, or was that the light that man cannot comprehend because we are living in the dark? Yes, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee. For thou hast possessed mine reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows right well. Let's hear from one that can give us some confessions in regard to this peculiar, or rather, not peculiar, but very interesting scientifically.
Welcome to the IVF Before and After podcast, where we will talk about the emotional rollercoaster journey we are about to embark on. Tune in to a series of podcasts on stories and tips to help you feel you are not alone on your fertility or parenting journey. We will openly discuss success and failure. We will attempt to pick you up when you are down and celebrate when your head's in the clouds. Kay Dempsey is your host, who can't wait to get started finding your way through IVF and parenting journey.
Thank you for coming back to IVF Before and After podcast. Today it's confessions of a mother of IVF babies. I always feel that people don't understand that it's not all beautiful. They see you posting happy posts on social media and think a happy ending for the couple, but in reality it doesn't quite work that way. Being pregnant with a fertility assisted conception means checking the toilet paper for every blood every time you go to the bathroom. It means taking 10 or more pregnancy tests to make sure the line is positive constantly. It means going to the extremes to do absolutely anything to stay pregnant, which can include taking medications, doing blood works, doing injections. It really is whatever your fertility doctor thinks is best for you and your babies. It means holding your breath every time you go for a scan and they check for a heartbeat. When you're at the maternity unit, you're sitting in the waiting rooms who are filled with women who have their innocence still intact, and you envy them, even though you're pregnant too. But you know you'll never feel the pure bliss that they do. Your mind is constantly wandering to the worst. Will this baby live? Will I get to the full term?
And, it's sad, brothers and sisters, to hear these things about what's taking place. But it's very important to educate your children, right? To learn to be separate, because it means so much more to be separate. Have they done case studies on this type of nature? I know it's very it's touchy, but again, we have to understand it goes deeper and beyond that, because where does the sperm actually come from? From who? Right? Does that sublime material come from the one that they actually say it comes from? Because there's records reported that it doesn't come from those who have been those donators or donors.
Has me look back at my whole high school experience through a totally different lens. It tarnishes the whole thing. I'll just put it out there. I was intimate with my half-brother.
But you didn't know.
We didn't know.
What Victoria didn't know then.
My husband and I tried for a while, and it wasn't working.
What was the infertility world like back then?
Back then, everything was kept quiet, was kept not really secret, but it wasn't advertised.
Her mother, Marilee Hill, turned to a New Haven, Connecticut fertility specialist, Dr. Burton Caldwell. She says Dr. Caldwell told her he would inseminate her using an anonymous medical student's sperm. Hill got pregnant.
There's babe me.
I kind of erased it in my mind that they weren't my husband's biological children.
Until recently, when Victoria took a commercially available DNA test, curious about her health history. To her shock, she found half-siblings she never knew existed. One of them reached out, revealing their biological father is Dr. Caldwell.
When I opened it up, it basically just kind of put out there, what you're seeing is some half-siblings because we believe that the doctor that did your mother's fertility treatment might be our biological father. And I just remember sitting there just being like, what? What is happening?
Victoria's high school boyfriend, who asked his identity be concealed, was also donor conceived. His parents also used Dr. Caldwell. The boyfriend took a DNA test.
He texted me, and it was a screenshot of the 23andMe connection, and it said, "You are my sister." What? We're siblings?
Owners. But the whole purpose of this is that these people, or we can say these individuals, is deeper than that. These individuals perhaps could be those from the orphanages, that rode those trains. It's a very evil and wicked world that we live in, that people, for some odd reason, have become the powers that be, right? But when we look at the prophecy, to those who want to say that the text isn't real, but even if you look at the prophecy, it comes to life, right? Things that are not, God allows to bring into play, to bring those things to naught. Let's read this. It says, "Who changed the truth of God into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator." I'm one of those type of people, if I can't have it today, possibly God will give it to me tomorrow. I'm one of those people, if I strive to do the due diligence of those things that are predominantly due within stages that I'm obedient to do, to receive and don't receive them, then guess what? I'm patient, I can wait.
I'm a former egg donor, and I'm pretty sure I just saw one of my donations in the wild.
Oh my God!
I donated 6 times between 2018 and 2021, I believe, resulting in 7 live births. As far as I know, there could be more. I know some of the couples saved some of them for future in case it didn't work. And I donated anonymously, but they told me it won't be anonymous with the easy access to genealogy and stuff. They warned me that I probably will get phone calls or knocks on the doors or Facebook messages or whatever. So I was prepared for that. What I was not prepared for was walking through Target today and seeing a child that made me stop in my tracks with how fucking alike we looked. Eerily similar. I don't want to be a mom at all, and I literally have no maternal instinct. Obviously, I don't even know if this was my child, but it reminded me that they're out there. Looked happy and healthy and pretty cute, if I do say so myself.
If you can't have it this year, who's to say you won't have it next year? However, why can't that individual, right, say, you know what, I will wait upon the Lord? You see, it takes a very, very peculiar, fearfully, wonderfully made to have that spirit to say such a thing. Now, it says, who is blessed forever, right? For this cause God, or the Most High, our power, gave them up unto vile affections. What are vile affections? Things that are unpleasant.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Stevenson. I cover China, and I'm currently living in Hong Kong, where I'm waiting for a visa to move to Shanghai so I can take up my post as Shanghai Bureau Chief. I'm going to read to you a story about several couples in China and their difficult journey to starting a family through IVF. One of the big challenges now is that so few of us are on the ground in China, and it's very difficult to just report and interview people by phone. People are generally already skeptical of foreign media just because the narrative that the government of China has set is very much anti-foreign media, and for a while during the pandemic was also just anti-US in particular. And so it's very hard to just reach out to somebody online and say, hey, do you want to talk to me? I'm a New York Times reporter. This story came about after my colleague Jishu and I spent a long time trying to figure out how to capture the very big issue for Chinese policymakers of fertility and getting couples to have children. It was before we got this big data point that China's population is now shrinking, but we knew it was coming. Part of that is that couples aren't having babies. Young people are just not interested. The Chinese government has just announced measure after measure after measure to try to encourage people to have kids, and those include cash handouts and tax benefits and all these other things, and none of it has really stuck. You know, if somebody doesn't want to have a kid, this isn't going to change their mind, $3,000 one-off. But then we realized one policy measure subsidizing IVF could possibly move the needle in a small way for a group that we hadn't considered, which is couples who really are desperate to have kids but can't. Then we thought, well, maybe people would be more willing to open up, and it turned out that they were a lot more willing to share, to the point where we were really surprised. Miss Guo in the story, she actually let our photographer, and the hospital also let our photographer into the room when they were doing the transplant. So in the end, everybody was really open with us about their experience, and that made the challenges that we have as reporters being outside of China, it just made the whole process rewarding the way it used to be when you could actually be in person with the people you're interviewing.
You know, I learned in walking in the Spirit and walking in truth, it's good to let things flow. You won't always get everything right, and you won't always get everything wrong. But if you follow Christ and believe in His Word, you will be all right. However, whether you have or whether you don't have, if you have the Most High, you have everything that life has to offer. Nevertheless, He said that He gave those type of spirits over to vile affections. Vile is unpleasant. Hearing from many mothers and women, all the cases are unpleasant. All the cases are due to one desire. That desire is, I want to have a baby. Nevertheless, it says, all things are lawful for me, or we can say good, but all things are not expedient, convenient, not practical, rather improper or immoral. All things are lawful for me. Good. All things are good for me, but all things edify not. Let no man seek his own wealth, but every man another's wealth. So we listen to a mother, we listen to an actual family, which was, that was a sad case. We listened to a donor and another family trying to conceive. Now we will listen to an actual adult IV, if you know what I'm saying.
Let's talk about how weird it is to be an IVF baby as an adult and to think about that while we finish getting ready together. So I've talked about this a few times before, that I am an IVF baby and so is my sister. My sister is 3 years younger than me, but technically we were from the same batch, if you will. So we were extracted at the exact same time, fertilized at the exact same time, and were created to be embryos at the exact same time. So we jokingly call each other twins because we were conceived at the same time. One thing that just really messes with my brain as an adult now is thinking about how some just random scientist guy chose the order in which we would be born. I was picked first and implanted first, but then my sister's embryo was frozen for 3 years. And Lord knows I was made to be the big sister. I cannot imagine. It was literally up to one random dude. He could have picked Jacqueline to be implanted first. And then I could have been frozen for 3 years, and I could be the little sister who's 23 right now. I don't know at what year IVF became a little more popularized, but my parents did this in 1996. And I feel like I haven't met many people older than me that are IVF babies. And the really weird part is now being childbearing age. The reason this is weird for me is because my parents actually still have some embryos from the exact same batch frozen because they wanted 2 kids. The first 2 times were successful, but the doctor had extracted I don't know how many. So I don't know how many embryos are left, but there are some of my twins per se still sitting in a lab, alive and frozen. And my parents don't really know what to do. It's understandable. You could donate them, but now the procedure is so much more accessible than it was almost 30 years ago, and who would want almost 30-year-old embryos? Does that have a risk? Do we even know? Who knows? So tell me why it has always been my desire, ever since I knew that, to, grow up, get married. Didn't plan on getting divorced, but get married again, maybe, eventually, and have my kids with my partner, but eventually also go through the implant process myself and give birth to one of my twin embryos. I just would want to know, especially if it was a boy, what a little boy sibling of me was like, and to bring that baby into the world. And I'm just so curious. Will I actually do it? Probably not. But am I so tempted? Yes. So anyways, enjoy that mind trip of the day. Have a good weekend.
And speak with you soon. Blessings.